Ari, I was watching the end of the Duke Wake Forest game last night, and there was not much going on because it was a blowout. 93-60 was the final, but that's only because the walk-ons were playing for the last 2.5 minutes. Cooper Flagg, this was potentially his last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. This was Duke's last home regular season game this year. So at the end of the game, John Shire takes his starters out, and the Cameron craze start chanting, "One more year, one more year." And Cooper Flagg makes the run it back signal. And like he laughs. They show his parents in the stands laughing. All of the Cameron crazies, like they laugh as they're cheering because nobody thinks Cooper Flagg is going to come back to Duke. Here's my question. Should he at least dangle it out there to make sure he doesn't end up a Washington Wizard?
I don't know, man. I feel like in the NFL, it's far more drastic than in the NBA, right? Like if you're a really, really good, like John Morant wasn't struggling in Memphis until he got in trouble, but like a transcendent player.
Memphis is a good franchise, though. They try to win. Like the Wizards are not trying to win and haven't tried to win in decades.
I don't feel like you have to try that hard to win when you're really good at basketball. Like if you get the right guy, right? Like the Cavaliers won the finals because LeBron. I know that's not the same.
But the Cavaliers are the best team in the league right now. Like
that's even
they're
more
managed fairly well.
I feel like if I were a quarterback being drafted and the Browns wanted to draft me, that would be more of a dire situation than any NBA player.
I think the Wizards might be the NBA version of the Browns is what I'm saying. Like I might try to leverage this thing. And I feel like this is not a Cooper Flagg question. This is more of a presumptive number one draft pick in the NIL era question. But Cooper Flagg's the first one who's had this level of leverage because the dates are really interesting on this. I did not know this until I got this idea in my head last night and started looking up the dates on when you have to say you're in or out of the draft and when the lottery is and all that. So
I just looked up the contract. I just looked up the contract for the number one overall pick in the NBA draft.
It's about $14 million a year.
57.4 million in 4 years.
Yeah. Yep. It's a good deal. I'm getting to that. And it's probably going to puncture my little balloon here, but I'll tell you.
It's like, what balloon are you cooking up over there? I can't wait for you.
Well, here's the thing. But would you rather have to play for the Wizards for at least 4 years and possibly more? Or would you rather go to a franchise? Because there are franchises in the lottery that are just sort of down on their luck this year, or they've cleared the decks trying to get a player like Cooper Flagg. Like if the Sixers win the lottery or if the Jazz win the lottery, that's a different story. Like you're okay. Those guys are going to try. But I don't want to be a Wizard and I don't want to be a Hornet. Like I don't. So if I'm Cooper Flagg.
Although the Hornets were the badass team. If you had a Charlotte Hornets starter jacket when I was a kid,
yeah, but those are the Pelicans now. That franchise is the Pelicans now. So
no, I know, but it's still the Hornets, man.
Well, I was a Magic fan. I hated the Hornets. The Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Muggsy Bogues was awesome.
Muggsy Bogues, man. It's like our childhood.
But that's the thing. If I'm Cooper Flagg, I don't want to be a Wizard or a Hornet, and those are the two teams most likely to win the lottery. So here's the deal. If you declare for the draft, you have until about 12 days before the draft to pull out. So you can pull out of the draft by June 15th. I'm sure Duke would keep a scholarship open for him, or he could come as a walk-on. So June 15th is your deadline to pull out of the draft. May 12th is the date of the lottery. So what you could do if you're Cooper Flagg is you have Team Flagg saying, look, if it's one of these teams that wins the lottery, great, awesome, I'm in the draft, cool, don't worry about it. But if it's the Wizards or the Hornets, you'd better trade the pick or I am pulling my name out of the draft and going back to Duke. And like we've seen this in football. We saw John Elway do this where he had been drafted into the major leagues so he could go play pro baseball, and that's how he avoided playing for the Colts. Like he forced the move to get himself to the Broncos. We saw the Manning family do this with Eli because he didn't want to play for the Chargers, and so he got himself forced.
That Deion was going to do this year.
Was
Wasn't there like some thought that they were going to do this with Shedeur Sanders this year, like a few months ago?
Yeah. And I don't know that Shedeur Sanders has the leverage because Shedeur Sanders isn't the obvious presumptive number one pick. I mean, we're talking about Abdul Carter, but in this case, Cooper Flagg is the obvious presumptive number one pick. He's got a New Balance shoe deal already. Now, if I'm New Balance, I don't really want him staying at Duke because that's him wearing Nikes for another year. He can wear New Balance once he gets to the NBA, but he's still going to get paid. He's still going to get paid by Duke's collective. He's still going to get paid in a lot of ways. Is he going to get paid $14 million? Probably not. Is he going to get close to it? Maybe. But here's where the money falls apart. And here's where my argument, I think, falls apart. It's not the $14 million a year that you get on your rookie deal. It's whatever the last year of your NBA max deal would be that you're losing because you're spending another year in college. And I was looking at the numbers on these things. And so the NBA's got a new TV contract that's about to hit. So their max deals are about to go up. But so like right now, if you signed a max deal with your team, like a super max deal, that last year, that max deal is about $50 million a year. So that's the thing. If you're willing to say money matters so little to me that I am willing to part with the potential $50 million that I would make on the back end of my NBA career if I started 1 year earlier, then you can stay in school and leverage this thing. It really depends on how much it matters to you.
I just don't think it can happen.
I think you could do it if you hated the idea of playing for that franchise enough. You might do it. PaniniAmerica.net to start your collection. Makers of the finest, most collectible sports cards on the planet. I
saw somebody here open up there, Andy, that pack that you have on Instagram yesterday, and they pulled a Caitlin Clark color wheel out of it. So good luck.
So this is a Panini Prism Draft Picks basketball edition, and we're going to talk about a really interesting basketball story that popped into my head as I was watching a game last night. So, but first, we're ripping this pack because those Caitlin Clark nukes are out there.
They are,
and by God, I want one.
She sells, man. She sells big. All right, ISO him, River.
Prism break Steph Curry in his Davidson uniform. We got Rob Dillingham playing at Kentucky. Oh my.
Don't oh my me. Don't oh my me. You scare me because oh my is Andy thinks it's cool or oh my you're holding a nuke and I don't know which one it is.
This is probably Andy thinks it's cool, but there are silver numbers on the back of this card, Ari. So Harold Miner, Baby Jordan autographed USC card numbered to 149.
That's really cool.
Yeah, PaniniAmerica.net to collect your favorite college, NFL, NBA stars.
Do you all right, Coach K, play the Coach K video.
Play the Coach K clip.
There's a lot of factors in there, but in Cooper's case, like one, he should do whatever he wants. My thing is, just be smart. Yeah, be smart for you. You only get to do this once, and you're only going to get to do it for a certain amount of time. And really, you're talking about generational wealth, a really good generational wealth, if you do it the right way.
Yeah. I love so that's Mike Krzyzewski from Beyond Basketball on Sirius XM. And I love Mike Krzyzewski and really good generational wealth. Said in a way that only someone who has generational wealth could say.
The funniest thing to me is like, there's generational wealth and then really good generational wealth. What are the two benchmarks money wise? What's generational wealth and what is really good generational wealth? Generational wealth is
you play for an NBA team or you own an NBA team.
Yeah. Does Coach K have really good generational wealth?
I think he's getting there. Those American Express ads paid pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep up with this enough, but like, how do NIL deals stack up for the best basketball players as it pertains to the comparison with football? Is it more because it's more impactful?
Better. Yeah, because they're more impactful to their teams. They're bigger name. Those basketball players actually rate for national ad campaigns. If you talk to advertising people, they'll tell you that the lack of a helmet helps.
Yeah, they do. It does, because like I don't think anybody knows what football players look like that aren't like Jamar Chase. If he walked through a grocery store right now in like a Whole Foods that's a mile and a half from my house, do you think people would know who he is?
Cooper Flagg. I think some people would. I don't think he would be instantly recognizable.
Because like I don't even know what he looks like.
It's actually a great question. So Cooper Flagg. So our NIL valuation for Cooper Flagg is $4.8 million. So you're still only talking about a third of what you'd make in the NBA next year. So it would have to be a decision of, I want to play for a really good competitive franchise, and I will essentially take less money this year to play at Duke to not play for this crappy franchise. That's the only reason you do it. But I still think, because there is this level of money available, it's not the worst gamble in the world if that's the case. Or you just threaten it and they trade the pick to somebody that you'd play for.
I just like, this is the first I'm hearing of the notion that like playing for the Wizards would be the worst thing in the world.
I sure as hell wouldn't want to play for the Wizards. Like if I could play for the Wizards or the Sixers, I would take the Sixers all day.
Yeah.
The Raptors have recently won an NBA title. The Bulls, I don't know about. Like the Bulls are interesting because it feels like their ownership is cool with going 44-40 every year, or 42-40 every year, make the play-in game, and that's it. The Spurs are interesting because Wemby's not playing the rest of the year. Like, if the Spurs got the number one pick, if I'm Cooper Flagg, I'm like, yep, let's go.
Andy, how often does like a good team win the lottery?
Not that often. Like when I was young, the Magic had the worst chance of winning the lottery the year after they got Shaq, and they ended up winning. And they picked Chris Webber, but traded him to the Warriors and got Penny Hardaway. So
that worked out pretty good.
That doesn't happen that often. But
yeah,
like the Spurs went into full rebuild mode. They got the number one pick. Like you weren't worried about Victor Wembanyama going to the Spurs. You knew they would put good pieces around him, and they have. They went out and got De'Aaron Fox. Like they've tried to do that. So Steve in San Antonio says Andy, the garbage franchise, could get the number one pick next year too. That's true. And you roll the dice.
Do it again.
You could actually do it 2 more times if you wanted to. But no, I'm telling you right now, just because you can go back, like you can stay in the draft after the lottery, after you already know, and you still have a month essentially to threaten them. You make them trade the pick. And then you're like, okay, cool, I'm staying in the draft.
Yeah. I need to watch more Duke.
I think you should use it. We're not necessarily to the point where the presumptive number one pick's gonna use it.
Yeah.
But there's a chance you get there.
Yeah. And I wonder if we'll ever get there in football too, with how much NIL money's out there.
I think it has to be a quarterback who is so obviously the best player in the draft. Like this draft, you can't.
You risk injury, I don't know. People just want to get to the league, man.
Well, I also feel like football has a higher incidence of career-ending injury than basketball.
Yeah.
So football, I think you lean toward going pro as quickly as possible every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basketball, I don't know if you need to. Again, we'll see. But also, if I'm New Balance and I'm paying Cooper Flagg, I want Cooper Flagg and New Balances, and the faster he goes, the faster that happens.
Yeah, right.